Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Teachings of Joseph. I'm Cindy, and it is Christmas Eve, December 24th, 2020. We've had a crazy year. Boy, has there been some advancement and expansion of the human collective during this year. It's been a wild show. I am watching it from a different perspective most of the time when I can keep my focus there. You know, I'm really enjoying this show on one side, and then my heart hurts on the other side. A lot of stuff going on. We've been through a lot this year collectively, and we're starting to see what Joseph refers to as the delineation of the two worlds. We are seeing the sides clearly that are dense and that are lighter. The spiritual folks that I know, we're all seeing it. We're seeing it from the spiritual level, and we know that this is a manifestation of a long time swimming around in the darkness, and we are seeing the light being shown upon many things this year. And so we're all navigating through that. And of course, this has to manifest. It's manifesting itself from the political side only as a physical manifestation of the vibration that created it, right? So we're seeing physical manifestation of a vibration that has been focused on for a long time. We're seeing manifestations of fear and jealousy and depression and desire for controlling others and just everything that's out of alignment. We are seeing this separation. And, you know, people would say the human response to that would be choose a side. Choose a side. And so Joseph has referred to this, the earth plane at this time, as the choosing ground. Of course, it's always the choosing ground because we are choosing our own evolution. We're choosing to experience our physical reality in every moment. We're choosing in every moment. And we are doing that and creating our reality by choosing a vibration, a thought, a pathway of thoughts. We build a momentum through our thoughts that put off a vibration that the universe matches, right? We call that vibrational agreement, and that is when we have manifestation. So we are on the verge of this shift in consciousness of our next event. Of course, we are always shifting in consciousness. The more aware of it we become as the physical aspect of our souls, the more we have the opportunity to participate in it consciously, which means consciously choosing what we prefer to experience as the physical, opportunities present themselves to us. So, regardless of what's going on in your outside world, you're always in charge of your own choosing, and that's choosing vibrationally. So we're going to talk today about shifting perspective. We hit pretty hard on shifting perspective. Joseph introduces it in their Allow Your Soul to Lead series, which is their 4-volumed series it's really their introduction to us. And they start off with a bang, teaching us about the aspects of the soul, so we can understand where we are creating from, so we can move into the vibration of the new earth and morph into or transform into the new human aspect that will live on the new earth. So in order to do that, we have to shift our perspective. We have to do a lot of things. But the first order of business, I would say, they wouldn't say that, but I would, is to shift our perspective, because we don't change anything until we see it differently, right? Until you can see it from a different angle. Take it, this is why photographers take so many different angles of something, so you can see it differently, and it gives you a different feel, right? People say, I want to go away for a week and get a different view of things. I want a different perspective with which to consider. So shifting your perspective is an important part of this whole expansion and moving into this new vibration, because the new earth vibration, the vibration that Joseph represents for us, the new vibration of our soul, really individual and collectively, doesn't have any fear. So this is a perspective that carries no fear at all. So that means we need to kind of examine our own beliefs and our choices that we make of our thoughts and how we create, where we're focused when we are creating, so we can understand how to move into this new vibration. And in order to do that, we need to move beyond the vibration where the contrast is, where the contrast is available for choosing. Just because it's there, you don't have to choose it. But it's there, and we do choose it. We choose it. We'll call it fear for this. Joseph refers to it as out of alignment space. We'll get into that a little bit later. But for right now, let's call it the fear vibration. So in every moment, you have in front of you two choices. You can choose love or choose fear. Now, when that comes to choosing our thoughts, that is what Joseph refers to as choosing a thought that is in alignment with your soul, and choosing a thought that is out of alignment with your soul. From their perspective, from the perspective of the new earth and the new human aspect, who is us at our best. I hate when I do that, sorry. Not best, it's just different, right? Anyway, so it represents, so this current human aspect that we are right now, we have lived in this world of contrast. And Joseph says, we are, the human collective, generally speaking, is addicted to fear. We are presented with fear and love in every moment. And more times than not, we will choose the fear because that's what's comfortable for us. That's what we're used to. That's the habit. That's what everybody else is choosing. We're going through a lot of that right now with this whole COVID thing. So are you jumping on the bandwagon of fear, or are you looking for the truth? Those are always the two choices in front of us. So the perspective that we currently have, generally speaking, the perspective of the third dimension is based in fear, right? Generally speaking. So we're talking today about shifting our current and I'll say old teachings that are conjured in and created from the vibration of fear, the out of alignment vibration, and that is not a judging statement, it just is, because that's all that was in the awareness at any given time. You create from where you're looking. You create from the vibration you're standing in, let's say. So up until this point, we haven't had much opportunity. There hasn't been really introduced into our awareness to the degree that it is today, this new perspective of choosing and creating from the space of love instead of fear. So here we sit on the precipice of our moving into the new earth vibration. And some people are saying we must unlearn what we have been taught. I understand what that intention is, but that too is out of alignment. You can't unlearn something, you just move beyond it. It's like going from kindergarten to senior year, 12th grade. You don't unlearn what you learned that was wrong. You learned at your level of awareness. And as your awareness expands, your opportunity to understand expands with it. And so you are constantly evolving, moving forward. So we prefer to encourage not to try to unlearn, not to try to unlearn something that you have been living, that we have been existing as for eons of time, but simply move beyond it and choose something else. Maya Angelou says, once you know better, you do better. And this is like the underlying process, of evolution, of our spiritual evolution. Because as we know more, we choose from more of who we really are, more from that space, more from the Joseph space. So we are working on introducing these concepts of shifting our perspective. We put one out, I think it was yesterday or early today, about this freedom that is in front of us right now. Those of us who live in the United States are being posed with this. I don't know about you guys, but it has never been in my view before that I would ever be in fear of losing my freedom. And I have to say that that scared the crap out of me when it first really hit me, as I start to see the masses just conform. They're just told something and everybody just conforms. It's shocking to me and very scary. It was very scary to me. And I've had lots of conversations about it with Joseph. So this is putting in front of us every moment our choosing of our own reality. And that's a big subject. But anyway, the whole point of that was to say that they gave me this quote this morning that said, if you are fighting for freedom, you are out of alignment. Freedom is something you choose. So we had a long conversation about that, and I understand what they're saying. So I asked them, well, how about, it's easy to say we choose our freedom, but our freedom is slowly being taken away from us. It's like they're pulling the rug out from under us. And most of us don't even see it. We don't even realize it because we've been so, I don't want to use the word brainwashed, but I'm going to, because I can't think right now of a better word to use with the propaganda and everything that's going on. Now, this is going to be a little controversial because so many people don't see it this way, and we all have our own experience. We all have our own experience of the information that we're being fed, which is all over the place. Nobody knows what's true, what's not true. It's crazy, right? And of course, it too is a manifestation of out of alignment choosing. That's what it all boils down to. Every time you have chaos, every time there is a, quote, problem, big or small, it doesn't matter. It is a result of out of alignment choosing, out of alignment with your soul choosing from the space of fear and not love. So it's all manifest from where you're choosing. So this is how we get into this whole old paradigm teaching thing. And so Joseph starts out by giving us the teaching about the soul's aspects, right? And we are the human aspect, we're the physical aspect of the soul, and the ego is an aspect of the soul too. Now, the ego, the current and previous, I will say, teachings of the ego by wonderful, wise, I would say the high vibrational teachers. I don't know how else to describe it. Just wonderful spiritual teachers that have been with us for many, many, many years and are guiding so many people, but are still teaching the old paradigm understanding of the ego. That the ego is a bad thing, that the ego can put thoughts in your mind, and the ego can cause you to act and cause you to do all these things. So, of course, that is a teaching that is from the third dimension. Of course, that's where we've been hanging out for eons, right? But it is a teaching based in fear, because the teaching from the new perspective tells us and is based on who we really are. So it is the soul's understanding, the soul's teaching of the ego, which is an aspect of the soul which is based in and conjured from love, that the ego comes with us to the third dimension, accompanies the physical aspect to assist in our navigation of the contrast. Remember, we don't come from contrast. We come from pure loving vibration. So when we choose to come to the contrast, to choose our way out of the contrast, to get to know more of who we are, right? We have to come with a balance to the soul, and that is what the ego provides for us from this new perspective. As soon as you release that belief that the ego is bad and you should get rid of the ego, first of all, you can't. It's like saying, I'm going to get rid of my soul. You can't do that. You can't get rid of yourself. Even if, even when you're not physical anymore, you're always yourself. You're always the non-physical piece of you. So you're not getting rid of the ego, which would be a horrible mistake if you could, because the ego is what tells us when we, the human aspect, are choosing from an out of alignment position. The soul doesn't do that. The soul validates our choosing through loving emotion. The ego validates our choosing, the human aspect choosing. Nothing outside of you chooses for you unless you give it that power. You are the only one that is in control of your vibration, and that is the ruler of you, and that is what you create from. It is the basis for your entire existence, because your soul, God, is pure vibration. That's from whence we come, right? So the ego steps in. I didn't want to get into the ego, but I'm so passionate about it because it's such a good teaching. It takes off so much pressure, guys. It takes off so much pressure. And it plays a big role in this paradigm shift, because you cannot get into the new vibration. It's like getting into a club, but there's no doorway. The doorway is leave your fear here. So we are not going near this vibration with any fear, because there's no vibrational agreement. If you are carrying fear in your physical, and we all are, I'll get into that in another podcast, but if you're carrying fear in your physical vibration, you cannot move into a vibration that is pure in the physical form. And we will have a different physical form when we move in there. That's a whole nother podcast too. But anyway, you can't carry the fear vibration. So we must move beyond it, not unlearn it. It's like saying, unlearn that 2 + 2 = 4. Just don't believe that anymore. You go, what? I've been using this my whole life and it seemed to work. Well, yeah, the old understanding of the ego does work because it's out of alignment, and it creates out of alignment manifestations. So that's how the old paradigm teachings work. That's how the new paradigm teachings work. Paradigm, let's call that a vibrational pattern. Okay? Paradigm means it's a model for something. It's a pattern for something. It's an understanding. And it is a vibrationally agreed upon understanding from the vibration that created it. Okay? That means, simply put, you cannot create fear from love, nor can you create love from fear. You see what we're saying here? The vibrations create what comes from them in their form. So when God said, however it reads in whatever Bible you're reading, God created man in his image. We translate that as the soul of the universe, which we say is everything, is God. The soul created through desire, a vibrational desire to expand. And we were part of that expansion of desire, which means we are at the core of us in alignment with who we really are. The largest part of our vibration is the soul of God. So we were formed from that. We choose to come to the contrast, because we're expanding the physical aspect, which is a whole nother podcast. Let's get back. Sorry, I got off track a little bit. Anyway, let's get back to this old paradigm thing. Anyway, so we get this question all the time. So what does the term old paradigm teaching mean? So that's what we mean. Old paradigm is an understanding of some vibration. So the third dimensional consciousness vibration is that of contrast, where fear is available for choosing. And just because it's there, you don't have to choose it. Again, you don't have to choose it, but it's there for us, and it's there for a reason. Another podcast, we'll get into that another time. But the fact is, it's there for choosing. Our job now is to shift our perspective into the new paradigm, which is a reflection of, a model of, a pattern of love. It's a pattern of love that doesn't contain any fear. So the teaching that the ego is evil, let's say, it was likened to the devil to me, or something outside of you that can change your thoughts, or however you learn that, that does not fit in the new paradigm teaching anymore. It just doesn't. But Joseph's definition of the ego and telling you who the ego is an aspect of love. It's an aspect of love that comes to assist in our choosing. Now, I've got podcasts on this, how the ego works with our choosing. I suggest you listen to them if you haven't already. But this is an old paradigm teaching. The teaching of the ego is an old paradigm teaching. I have gotten emails from people, Instagram messages, texts from people saying, I can't believe you're teaching this about the ego. As soon as I understood it, I felt the relief. And that's how it was for me too. It was amazing. I understood it, and you will understand it in a moment. And all of a sudden, that new understanding will shift your perspective. And once you start shifting your perspective about the way you think, you take another turn. And then you start shifting, because you start seeing that differently, you will start seeing other things differently too, because now you're on a new pathway. You're creating a momentum that is conjured in and created from the vibration of love, out of curiosity of what else is in there, Well, if this ego teaching doesn't serve me anymore, and that's not to say it didn't serve us all, never served me. I can honestly say that. I never understood it. But if it served it in somehow, because if it doesn't, you change it, right? And when you understand that you can change it, you start to look at the options for change. And any way you choose to change it, to understand it, that is from the space of love, that is in alignment with who you really are, is the perfect shift for you. It doesn't have to be our understanding or our teaching. Joseph is saying that the ego is an aspect of them. It is an aspect of us. And I picture it as, I in my early days, it was so much fun when I was looking at everything like I was a little kid. I was jumping in my little convertible, leaving heaven, and I would pull over on the outskirts of Earth, pick up my ego aspect, and it would guide me into the contrast. And then it stayed by my side. And every time I chose a thought that was out of alignment, it showed me that. It showed me that, and I'll tell you, for 40 years or however long, it showed me that through all those manifestations that came along with those, the choosing from an out of alignment position. We call them, up to this point, we call them, oh, I made so many mistakes. That's another thing. That's another old paradigm teaching. We're going to get into all of this. But there are no mistakes, there are only experiences. And there are only experiences that offer opportunity for more choosing. There is no judgment from this new vibration. There is only experience. Remember, there is no time there. Everything is an event. So from Joseph's perspective, our time frame is eternity. Our time frame is eternity. So when we start shifting our perspective of these old paradigm teachings and we say, okay, now the ego is my friend, and the ego is allowing me to understand from a different perspective when I am choosing out of alignment thoughts that will manifest in things I don't want, right? In out of alignment manifestations. That's what my ego does for me. My ego does that for me by pointing out what I'm choosing through negative emotion, right? The soul offers, when I'm choosing from alignment, the soul offers loving emotion. I feel peaceful and joyful, and it's fabulous. And when I am choosing out of alignment for whatever reason, doesn't matter. If I'm choosing out of alignment thoughts that are creating out of alignment experiences, my ego's warning me, telling me all the time through negative emotion. I don't feel so good, and then it starts to get physical. If we keep doing it, we're choosing. And so remember, our physical bodies take on and are a replication, I'll say, of our non-physical vibration. Physicalizes in our body, and we get sick. We get sick. We get sick mentally. We get sick because we're out of alignment with our soul. When you're in alignment, you're not sick. When you're in alignment and not in fear, you're in alignment, and you are experiencing that vibration. So we are all over this old paradigm teachings. This is one of the first parts of shifting our consciousness to get into this new vibration, to move beyond it. I would say don't waste your time going back and unlearning stuff. What are you going to unlearn? It served you at the time. It served you at the time. And what we're learning now will serve us until there's a new learning, until there's new understanding available, And as we understand more opportunities present themselves for our continued understanding. That's our evolution. And that's why the Joseph of me, the Joseph of you, your soul, my soul, they are the non-physical aspects of us. They are the expanded version, just like Abraham is the expanded version of Esther. And Seth was the expanded version of Jane. Bashar says that Daryl is his human aspect, who is 300 years before Bashar is. So Bashar is 300 years his senior, we would say, in the human. Evolved 300 years, if years existed there. They're trying to give it to us in human form so we can understand it. So these are aspects of us. They are aspects of us. And in order to evolve, we need to dump the old paradigm stuff. Doesn't work there. You cannot bring it with you. There are no mistakes. There's no judgment there. So our perspectives about all of these things are, we now have a conscious opportunity to consciously choose the thoughts that we want to experience in the physical realm, and that is choosing from the space of alignment. So the old paradigm teachings that we were taught and are still being taught. Here's a question. Somebody says, well, how do we know it's an old paradigm teaching? And we say, if it evokes in you fear, or if it is telling you that something outside of you is or has the ability to control you, that is an old paradigm teaching. Anything that is resulting in fear or resulting in a manifestation that you don't want, people blame. Okay, let's talk about blame for a minute. People blame the ego for all these things. Well, it's the ego's fault. It's the ego mind. It's this, it's that. Something outside of us that we can't control. Some people even teach that the ego is, yes, part of us, part of a vibration of us, but it is not good. And that's out of alignment. It's out of alignment because God, the pure, loving vibration, does not create something in fear, does not create anything that's out of alignment. It just doesn't. And we are not out of alignment unless we choose it. Did you get that? We have free will because, of course, there's no judgment. There's no control. We have to have free will. So we are always dominantly in alignment, but it is this aspect who practices out of alignment experiences. And that's all good and well. It doesn't matter because we're eternal. What matters is the expansion of the aspect and the evolution of the human physical aspect. And as we expand and we increase our awareness of who we really are, we understand more about who we really are, which means we understand that we have the ability, it's innate in us, the ability to choose. Choosing is so important now. The choosing ground. Joseph refers to this as we are in this choosing ground. So choose what you prefer to experience. They say participate, or they say be aware, but don't participate. If it causes you to be in fear, you're out of alignment. You can watch what's going on and you can choose alignment. You can choose to see all the good that is happening because there's a lot of it. There's a lot of loving things going on now and a lot of camaraderie in love that's going on now. There's also a balance of that in fear that's happening now. And so it is what some have referred to as a spiritual war. And I will tell you that the war has been won on the spiritual side, which means if we follow suit, and it looks like we are, the war will then manifest itself from the in alignment position. And we will remain free. Well, we are always free in our minds, of course. Our vibration can be free. Joseph tells us that regardless of what is happening in our physical worlds, we have the ability and the choice always to choose to remain in alignment and to focus on alignment within ourselves. Another teaching that is the old paradigm teaching is the God outside of us. The Bible has served us so well, and unfortunately got translated in so many different ways. However, it does serve millions and millions of people, which is a wonderful thing. But there are many teachings from the Bible that are based in fear. Now, those teachings came from a place of fear, so we know they were translated from an out of alignment position. Right? Which makes sense because the people who wrote the Bible, channeled the Bible, experienced those, that whatever you want to believe about that, were living in a matching vibration. That was a vibration of the third dimension of contrast. So, of course, that's where their awareness was. Always think about that when you read something. And there are so many wonderful spiritual teachings that are so consistent. So consistent. And of course they would be, because all spiritual teaching has no fear. Remember that. If you are being taught something that doesn't feel like love to you, or is that teaching you a fear-based something, be very cautious. And the teachings that are spiritual are always based in love. Always. It's a universal law, and we'll go into that at another time too. But as you're thinking over and examining your own beliefs, check out how they feel. Really settle in on them and see how they feel. If you look at the old paradigm teaching of the ego, I see it all. It just really bugs me. Sorry. It bugs me now because it's such a fearful teaching. Even Wayne Dyer, and I was I love the man. Of course we all do, right? He brought us so much. But his teaching of the ego translated as edging God out, that hurts my heart. And I know he's shifted now. I know he understands now. But that hurt my heart. But it served a purpose then. It served a purpose. They were trying to accomplish something, right? But an aspect of God doesn't fight against God. There's no vibrational agreement there at all. So that's what I'm talking about. So, and that's not a judgment on any teacher at all. This is just evolution. This is what we need to look at and need to focus on and really think about. If you have a question, email me. But this is where we're headed, to a vibration that has no fear. So there are no fearful beliefs. Therefore, no fearful creations. So think about where we're going. So that's the meaning of old paradigm teaching. When you come up against one, think about it for yourself and just say to yourself, okay, this doesn't feel right, but the teaching is important. So how do I shift it to another perspective, to the new vibration? And we say to you, think about how your soul thinks about it. What is the soul's perspective of this understanding, of this belief? And shift it yourself. Write to me if you have questions, and we'll talk about it. We'll do podcasts on these, because this deserves this segment of our teaching, and the shifting of perspective will go far and wide, because it's a big deal. You have to shift your perspective. You have to accommodate the pattern, the vibrational pattern that we're moving into. We manifest from the vibration that we are focused on, right? So if we want to manifest the new earth that doesn't have any fear, that's where we need to be sitting. So this is the next part of our journey, and it is the perspective of the soul, guys, where all is in alignment, created in alignment, and manifested from alignment. Alignment is where it's at. Or as Esther would say, the vortex is where it's at. This is where everybody's spiritual purpose is, and that is in the space of alignment. I hope this helped clear it up. I hope it didn't make it worse, but I hope you can understand the old paradigm teachings and why we need to move beyond them. I almost said weed them out. I got this visual of just going through a field and just weeding them out, just throwing them up because we don't need them anymore. We don't need them anymore. We're moving forward and we thank them, and we bless them, and we say thank you for your service, but we're moving on. We're moving on. Anyway, you guys check us out on Instagram at the Teachings of Joseph, posting their quotes there daily. Subscribe to our channel if you like our stuff. And, stay strong, shed light. Shed light. Somebody asked me one day, Cindy, are you praying? Are you praying for our world? Of course I am. Well, how do you pray? Well, I envision a covering of light. I just envision a covering of light because, when you shed light, dispels the darkness, So I'm a light giver. I'll just surround everybody in light. So that's how I pray. Whatever makes you feel good, whatever feels good for you, focus on love as much as you can. We're moving through this, and this is going to be I'm anticipating a wonderful new year with lots of hope and a lot of joy and healing, a lot of expansion as we move forward together. So thanks for listening, guys. Appreciate you. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Stay well. Love you guys.